All right, let's call to order Safety and Public Works Committee meeting. It is Monday, October 2nd, 2023, 7 p.m. Council chambers. We just have 4 items tonight. First item is a authorization of SRF, authorizing SRF to apply for the Active Transportation Grant. Jesse Dean, if you want to tell us about this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So SRF is the firm that prepared the feasibility study for the Trunk Highway 210 Lone Park pedestrian bridge. As part of that contract, we had them price out how much they would charge us to apply for certain grants on our behalf. It's actually the alternative transportation. I had a typo there. The alternative transportation grant was one of the ones that the PMT group identified as one we should target. That solicitation is opening here soon, and we'd like to have SRF use $5,000 of the roughly $15,000 we have available in that contract to go ahead and apply for the alternative transportation grant. The one change that works in our benefit this year is they increase the maximum grant amount from $500,000 in previous years to $1 million this year. So I'm hopeful that we can take a pretty big bite out of that overall construction cost if we can get this, and I think it's a pretty positive project towards that grant program. So staff's recommending authorizing SRF to go ahead and prepare that grant application on our behalf, understanding that we'll probably have to come back to the council once the application's prepared to come up with a resolution of support.
Thank you. Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Do you know if we were awarded that grant for whatever amount, what the expiration or time of uses availability of it is?
Typically, they want them to be used within 5 years.
Oh, 5, okay.
Typically.
Okay.
Yep.
You don't know that until you.
I'd have to look at the solicitation when it opens up for sure,
right.
But we don't have all of the details on the program yet.
Okay.
We've applied for several different grants having to do with not just this pedestrian bridge, but the whole trail section in general, along with the highway project. And then I know this was on our list for things that we were going to hopefully bond for, or apply for state bonding. Was that third on the list?
Second.
Second.
Yep.
Okay.
The water facility was number 1.
Okay. And do we have anything in grants that we've been awarded for this pedestrian bridge yet?
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve moving forward with this.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next item is requesting to award improvement 2312 Southwest 4th Street Washout Repair Project. And again, Public Works Director Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we took a little bit of time since we had a few weeks while the concrete pipe was being fabricated to go ahead and solicit for bids from contractors. We didn't go the full length of solicitation as typical contracts, but we did use that shortened piece as part of the emergency declaration on the project. We did get 5 responses to the bids. Those bids were, the listing is here, but we've also included the award recommendation letter from Bolton and Mink, who assisted with the process. The low bid on the project was from Landwehr for $163,550.30. Bolton and Mink put together an engineer's estimate, which was just over $168,000. So the low bidder is approximately 3% lower. Bids ranged all the way from that 163 for the low bid all the way up to 336,000 and change. So at this time, staff is recommending moving forward with Landwehr construction with the low bid.
All right. Not something we want to spend money on, but we should probably fix it, I think.
Can you just briefly describe the process or what, you talked about fabricating a pipe. It's basically a storm sewer drain?
Yes, sir. So the plan is to install a few different sections of concrete pipe with 3 different drop manholes. And the reason for 3 different drops is the previous one was like a 25-foot drop manhole, which didn't do a lot of favors when it comes to energy dissipation, which is probably one of the contributing factors of why we had some failures before. So we changed the plans a little bit and went with 3 different drop structures. So while the structures and the pipe is being fabricated, that's where we had some time to solicit for the bids. We are expecting those pipes to hopefully come in this week. We got to contact Rinker about it.
And Jesse, do we have any other, I guess, potential washout situations that are designed the same way this one was anywhere else along the river?
We're going to be looking at it this fall, especially once the leaves come off and we're able to access a lot of those locations, just to make sure we're not seeing other issues elsewhere.
Okay, because I'd imagine we have a dozen or so of these.
We do have several, so we are definitely, it's one of our priorities this fall is to get through the river and check over all of our outfalls.
So does that, I don't want to assume anything, but I guess that runs underneath Northwest Fourth and then collects and goes down? Is that how that drains?
This one specifically drains about half of Southwest Fourth.
Oh, it's Southwest?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yep, Southwest Fourth.
Right.
The western portion of the neighborhood actually drains west, and then the eastern half of the neighborhood drains all through this one pipe.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite a large area. I think it's 30 some odd acres.
Wow, that's a lot. You have anything else?
Nope.
I'd move to accept a low bid on this one.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept the bid from Landwehr Construction, St. Cloud, for the amount of $163,550.30. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 3 is the downtown snow removal bids. And Public Works Director Dean, I know that we might not have the same recommendation as what came out in our packet, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's correct. We did originally receive 2 bids, so we did direct solicit to 5 different contractors, as well as publish notice in the paper and the website that we are looking for this service. Ultimately, only had 2 responses on the bid. Tom's Backhoe Service is typical, and S&K Outdoor Services out of Little Falls. However, I did receive an email this afternoon that S&K was to withdraw their bid. So unfortunately, I'm going to change my recommendation to move forward with the bid from Tom's Backhoe Service. In taking a look at his bid, it is 5% above where it was last year. So that was the change from previous year to this year.
Okay.
Is this the same company that pulled back their bid that is doing a contract with the county to do their campus plowing? Do you know? That was in our Brainerd Dispatch recently.
I didn't see the name of the contractor that.
I can't remember. It doesn't matter. I was just curious. But.
Okay, so we have one contractor, one bid.
I move that we go forward with Tom's Backhoe.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Though there always is the option of having city staff do this. It's probably a little bit different.
Yep, the problem is, it is a difficult area to plow. It's high priority. It's the central business district. But it does come up in discussion every year. I'm sure that's coming up in the next couple meetings, having a public hearing regarding that from last year. But even though we had extra snow, or more snow than we've had since the 1940s last year, and the bid was higher than it was the previous year by 10%, we still managed to keep it less expensive than the year before. So Jesse's doing a good job managing that. So, any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 4 is the approval of the 2024 to 2033 capital improvement plan. And again, Public Works Director Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your packet is the 10-year CIP that was presented at the last meeting. I didn't make any adjustments. I don't recall hearing any comments or requests for changes. The one request that I did hear was kind of a listing of the different changes between the previous plan and this plan. So I did include a pretty lengthy memo that has kind of the different changes that went in from the previous plan to this plan. Some of them was just consolidating several lines into one line to make it simpler to or a little easier to read. Some of them was adjusting dollar amounts. Some of them were new projects. So a handful of different changes, but generally it was very close to what the previous plan is with some adjustments there. But I also did drop off a packet that has kind of our capital improvement programs report, very similar to the one that was on the website previously. This kind of goes through how we fund our plan, kind of the state of our current system, how many miles we have, the amount of pipe we have. Hasn't changed all too much since we did delay North Brainerd a year later, and we haven't rescanned or reevaluated our pavements in the last few years. So a lot of it's very similar to the previous plan, but I did refresh a few of those numbers that were in there. So
Excellent. So upon approval, that will go up on our website as well?
that is correct, sir. I'd probably prep a nice map to make it a little bit more visual, but other than that, this is about the draft plan is what I have.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Jesse, how do we go about where there's a couple of really bad tripping spots on sidewalks, whatever part of the city? I know you and I have talked about this, and there are a couple of really high or perhaps 1.5 to 2-inch where that panel is raised up from roots or whatever. And I know it's hard to contract for that, as we talked about, because of the limited number of areas. So, I mean, and what do we do? Because people can trip and fall down and hurt themselves, and I mean, I particularly, I hit one a couple weeks back that I know it's there, and I almost fell. So, I mean, what do we do?
So the one thing that we talked about a little bit earlier this summer is with the charter change, that is something the city is responsible for, is making sure that we are taking care of the maintenance of sidewalks outside of shoveling and keeping debris clear and stuff like that. So we'll continue to make lists of areas that we need to address. We're going to identify some budget dollars to do some repairs throughout the year. Obviously, that definitely means we're not going to be able to get through the entire town of all the different needs in one single year, but we're going to try and identify those spots and attack them as best we can and prioritize them the best we can. For the isolated ones, the ones that we can do easily, we'll try and do them with our crews. We're not exactly flat work masons, but we'll do what we can with our staff. If we can't do that with our staff, if we had a big root in there that we have to dig out, those we might lump together into kind of a small solicitation package and hire a contractor out to help.
I was going to say, you could consider it somewhat like our small patch or large patch projects with asphalt, but concrete instead.
Well, you can grind them down or raise up the lower one, right? With the right equipment?
Depends on the situation. Some of them, if it's a small lip, you can grind it. Some of them you can do a little bit of lifting, but obviously you don't want to go above the adjacent ground too much. It all depends on what the reasoning is. If it's heaved up because of a root, that's one you have to just essentially cut into the root, and that's the trouble with those.
All right.
And just so you know, Chairman Doty, I got sold on the scanning process. I had a nice lengthy conversation with our public, Mr. Dean, and yeah, and we didn't even yell at each other.
That's great.
So
That's great. I don't know if I'm sold on it yet. I haven't seen the final bid.
yeah,
See.
yeah.
But if it's around what it was supposed to be, I think it does add a lot
Got
of
it.
value.
One thing I would say, you got it for 35,000 in 2024, and then with 29, I think 35,000 again. Is that not counting inflation or anything, or do you think the price will come down, or?
If in future iterations of the CIP, when we get a bit closer to 29, that might be something we'll have a chat with maybe whoever we're using and see what they're expecting for a price. If they're expecting something similar, or if that price has gone up, I would assume in 5 years prices normally go up. So
But your
Unless you
crystal
lock it
ball's
in.
a little fuzzy.
Unless you lock it in the initial contract. We'll see how it goes.
It's hard to do that far out.
I don't know, do we have to approve this? Is that what we're looking for here, a
I
recommendation?
think we're at that point where a motion to approve this would would get us going in the right direction moving forward. We'll see what the rest of the council thinks.
I will move to approve and adopt the 10-year capital improvement plan for 2024 through 2033.
I'll second, and I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course, the only thing we look at here now is budgeting is for next year, so everything else is perhaps not locked in. It would be, I think.
Well, right, as far as our working budget,
Right.
working into the fall and up to the end of the year. Yeah, we're considering
You
everything.
could pull up President Bevins on me and say, well, that's obvious, Jeff.
Yeah, Captain Obvious,
Okay,
John Madden over here.
there you go.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, and we can adjourn to the regular council.
Already?
That is it.
Wow.
7:06.